Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about some photography that I did in Tokyo, Japan, just this past month, October 2024, and I want to talk about my gear, talk about my experience a little bit from a photography perspective, and just go through my favorite photos from the trip, and I'll talk through some of the compositions and decisions I was making when it comes to the trip. So first of all, we're going to talk about the gear that I decided to bring, and this is it right here. I brought my Canon R6 with my Canon 70-200 f4 lens, and that was the only lens I brought on the trip. And it's kind of an interesting thing. A new thing for me is only bringing one lens on the trip. I wanted to pack light. I didn't want to be fumbling around with my lenses, and I wanted to give it a go to see if it would force me to be a little bit more innovative when it comes to creating frames, creating my shot, because I couldn't be sitting there switching up my lens to optimize for whatever frame that I saw. I had to kind of move myself around, kind of adjust myself and see what kind of stuff I could come up with. And there's some really good examples, I think, in here that I'm going to show you. When I went to Tokyo earlier this year, it was actually my second time this year. I went earlier this year. I also brought my Canon 14-35 f4 lens, and that one was like okay, but I found that I didn't really use it that much. Wasn't really opting to switch into this, and I decided at the time of that trip that the 70-200 is my favorite lens, and that if I were to go back to Tokyo, I would just bring this one, and I followed through with that. So I'm going to show you guys some of my favorite shots, and we'll see what you think of them. And yeah, let's talk through it a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to go in whatever chronological order here and just go through what's going on here, and I don't know, I'll explain a little bit. So this first particular shot and some of the following shots, these are all in an area called Ameyoko, which is a shopping street, restaurant street near Ueno in Tokyo. And I don't know, just it has these like really long streets of just a lot of lights and shops and just very dense things going on. And there's a lot of spots like that, right? And I think the 70-200 is ideal for those kind of spots because, as you can see here, we essentially fill the frame with lights. We fill the frame with color, and then whatever is not lights and color in the frame, like for example the top right of this image, it's just like a wall. And I think that is so cool because it creates some mystery of like what's going on up there, and you know, like how high up does it go or whatever. Whereas if you were using a shorter focal length with a bit of a wider angle lens, you could see what's going on. You could see the wall. There's not really a whole lot of mystery. All of your lights kind of get smaller and comprise a smaller part of the frame, and I think it's a little bit more boring in my perspective. So that's why I really like this lens for this particular area, and we're going to go through a couple shots that are similar. So this is just another street in that same area. Same thing. For this one, I cropped it into a square. That's another thing I want to talk about is for these photos, or for this trip after editing, I went with some interesting ratios. Like for example, the 1:1 ratio, which is just the square edit. I think sometimes that you don't have to stick to the Instagram like 4:5 or 9:16 to maximize your screen makeup, right? You can just crop to whatever looks good, and I like this one. Everything just converges to the center. I just wanted to try that out, and yeah, I'm really happy with how this shot turned out here. Just kind of an interesting edit. Everything seems kind of warm, but I think that was really how it was feeling. It was honestly 85 degrees out in Tokyo in October. So yeah, it's a bit of a warm edit, but that's what the feeling was like at the time. So I kept it like that. This was this restaurant that I ate at on my first night there. I didn't know it was a photo spot, but when I got there, like we kind of came in from the side, didn't really know what was going on, went up the stairs, had a meal, came outside, and then everyone was taking photos of this building because it has all the cool lights and stuff. And I think I have another shot later on in the screen of this same building, but from a different perspective. Yeah, here it is right here. And I actually just posted these shots on my Instagram today. So if you're interested in seeing my Instagram, there's a link in the description below. But yeah, this building was super cool, super photogenic, and you know, if I had a wider angle lens, I could have probably gotten a better shot of this entire building, but I didn't mind having to zoom in, filling up the frame with a lot of light, darkening out the stuff that didn't have anything going on, as we can see around the top and the right side here. I'm not the biggest fan of this particular edit, but for this other photo in particular, I was a big fan, even though like I'm standing right up next to it with my 70 millimeters. Yeah, I was still able to get a shot that I was happy with. So yeah, overall pretty good. Next was some shots from Senso-ji Temple in Asakusa. This is, you know, the classic tourist spot to go to. But for this one, like, these buildings are probably some of the most photographed buildings in the world, because there are so many damn visitors to this place every single day that, and I don't think anyone is coming in with like long focal length lenses. So I was kind of excited to try to find some kind of unique perspective to capture these buildings. Like, can we frame these things somehow? Let me go on to the next one. Can we get some kind of unique aspects that aren't really looked at? And I was super excited about this particular shot here, framing in the roof of the pagoda with the opening in the larger temple that I was standing inside of. Yeah, I just really like the ability of the 70-200 to do that kind of thing, like really focusing on the details while being able to frame stuff. If I had a wider or a shorter focal length lens, a wider angle lens, yeah, this shot would not have looked nearly as cool. We would have lost a lot of the detail in the pagoda in the back. But yeah, I think with the 70-200 it was kind of nice. Now we're moving on to the Meiji Shrine area. So this was just walking through a kind of a wooded park to get to a shrine in the center of the park. So there's a lot of these gates on the path to the park. So essentially I waited till I was pretty far back, and then obviously turned around and zoomed in on the gate and kind of framed it up with the trees. Yeah, I don't know how I would have done this with a shorter lens. I mean, you have to be really up close. You could probably get a lot more trees on the side, but I kind of like the distance, the depth that this 70-200 is allowing me to get while walking through the park. So let's go ahead and look through these. Oh, this is another thing. These are sake barrels. Each of these barrels is probably, you know, 1.5 feet tall. So these things are huge. It was a whole wall of them. And I'm sure everyone's standing there with their phone getting the entire wall. But I really like to zoom in on the details, man. Like, these are really cool designs on the sake barrels. They're kind of lost if you get the whole wall. You're kind of looking at the wall itself if you're looking at it from a wider lens. But if you really zoom in on them, there's some cool art. There's some cool like colors. There's some cool, you know, all the kanji, all the writing that most people don't know what it means. You know, it really adds to the flair of the photo, in my opinion. So yeah, I'm super happy with these shots. Here's some more shots of the gate. This is like the gate that's halfway between the entrance and the main shrine. And then this is the main shrine itself from quite a distance, of course. So, and then here's the portrait version as well. I really got down low for this and was still able to get a lot of details. I like these trees overhanging above that I filled up about half the frame with. So it was essentially a split in half frame. Or, you know, you could argue rule of thirds where the sky, the bottom of the skyline is. But yeah, I think there was enough space to make use of the 70 mil. I forget what focal length this exact photo was taken at, but you know, at minimum 70 mil, and I was pretty happy with how that turned out. All right, now we're on to some more urban stuff. Yeah, getting shots of the trains, classic street photographer activity, but I don't know. It's just cool. For this one, I liked how the colors naturally go from red to yellow to green in the train. Like, these are not edited colors, and then blue up above in the buildings. I didn't edit those. I mean, that's just exactly how the train station looks. Of course, I edited the photo, but I just enhanced the colors. I didn't change any of the colors, is what I'm trying to say. So kind of a neat setup here for this photo. Yeah, this one's back to our original area of Ameyoko. So again, this is the same street that I photographed earlier, the first photo that I showed in this video, except from the other direction. So I guess I took that one on a couple days later. Okay, and then I did some long exposure photography from standing up on an elevated walkway in Ueno. So this one is obviously a whole bunch of taxis waiting to go. and I got them for a while they were stopped. That's why you can see the cars sitting there. And then I guess the light turned green halfway through the shutter being opened, and then they started moving through. So it's kind of a unique shot. I don't know, I was pretty excited about this one. And then there's just some random long exposure stuff just down the street. There's not a whole lot to see in this one. And then this one, long exposure with the people walking across. If you look closely, there's a lot of blur on the crosswalk. That's actually motion blur with people using the crosswalk. And then this taxi is just waiting here. All the other cars are stopped at the red light. So a lot of motion in the people. All the cars are sitting still. I just thought it was a neat situation. Okay, now we're getting on to some of the photos of just people. This one is waiting in line at the Tokyo Museum, and there was just a sea of umbrellas. Everyone was looking forward in line, except this one woman was turned around looking back at me. So I thought this was an interesting shot. In this particular shot, I wish I had a little bit more, a little bit wider angle lens, to be honest. I think 70 was a little bit too zoomed in. I would have liked to have this exact frame, but with more umbrellas, because you really don't understand how many damn umbrellas there were in this particular scene, and I wish I had just a little bit more range to see a little bit more of what's going on around. But still super happy with this shot in general, just with the concept with the frame, and just like how the eye goes from all the umbrellas to the one person looking at you, and I think it's kind of cool. Next we have this other woman here with the umbrella, darkened face, and just you can see her clothes, and then the bright umbrella here, and similar one right here, same woman, just a second later. So yeah, I don't know, just interesting shots. Here is another one. This is in Akihabara. I think the previous two were also in Akihabara, and these this is just a crosswalk, but I don't know, I thought it was kind of neat. Just get the building, and this is another example where if you have a zoomed in lens and you have something going upwards out of your frame, it creates mystery on how big the thing is. Okay, that's one of my favorite things to do with a 70-200. Create mystery about how big something is by zooming in on the bottom of it and looking at it extend through the top of the frame. So this is an example of that. And then at the bottom, of course, we have the contrast with the bright white umbrellas all coming at me. So yeah, kind of cool. We already saw that one. Here's some more shots of the train station, and this one, or these shots are all of the Shinkansen, which are the bullet trains. And I just had a field day shooting these. I think these were super cool to get from a distance, and then we were luckily at a point in the track where it bends, so I was able to get a head-on shot without obviously getting onto the tracks. And I don't know, a head-on shot of the Shinkansen I think is super neat and kind of a unique perspective. And then luckily I had this lens on me to really get zoomed in to really make the train fill up a majority of the frame here, or I guess in this case about half the frame, right? Here's some more shots of the similar situation. These are all in Tokyo Station, by the way, where we have that same Shinkansen. I just backed up all the way to the end of the platform. Here's another one in landscape form of the same shot, and then we have a second train pull into the station. So now we have the contrasting, not really contrasting, but the different trains, blue and green, and kind of in the same setup, where we can get the head-on shots of two trains at once, which I think was super cool. Yeah, and I think that actually wraps up the end of the photo display. So these were my Tokyo shots. I also went to a city called Sendai. I took the Shinkansen, I took that blue one right there, and yeah, I'm gonna do another video about those particular photos, but for now I wanted to focus on Tokyo to kind of showcase a little bit of what I was able to get with my 70-200 lens. I only spent 2 days here on this particular trip because I had to go up to the other city, but in those 2 days still got a lot of really good shots that I'm happy with, a lot of good use out of the 70-200 lens, and visited a lot. For me personally, I visited a lot of cool places that I wasn't able to go to before. For example, the Meiji Shrine. This was my third time in Tokyo. I'd never been there, so that was really cool. And then the Senso-ji Temple, I went there early in the morning before it got like mega crowded, so it was kind of nice to be able to get some photos and to kind of explore the place a little bit, get some different perspectives that I wasn't able to get before with the camera. Okay, so thank you guys for watching. If you guys like these photos and want to see more of my photography work, make sure you go check out my Instagram below. That's ck.image, and then also follow the Instagram for this channel, Café and Passports, where I talk about photography stuff, make travel videos with Becca, and then we have a joint Instagram account for that, Café and Passports. So make sure you like and follow both of those, and then please feel free to subscribe to this YouTube channel as well. It would go a long way, and I would really appreciate it. And with that, we'll catch you guys in the next one. We'll see you soon.